Now that there are too many streaming services and they're getting more and more expensive, I'm checking out some of the best and worst horror movies across Netflix, Amazon Prime, Shudder, Crackle, and so on to see are they worth buying a physical copy to preserve. I'm Rob from the Masters of Nonsense, and I watch Jeepers Creepers on Amazon Prime Video. Is this movie worth streaming or owning? I'll cover this in the only way that I know how, using wrestling lingo. The Gimmick. Jeepers Creepers was released in 2001. The synopsis of the movie is, siblings driving home through an isolated countryside for spring break encounter a flesh-eating creature in the midst of its ritualistic eating spree. This is a first-time viewing for me, and honestly I put it off this long because I thought the title was too dumb. So here we are, decades later. Let's see, is my mind changed? Were they able to deliver on this? Let's check it out.
3 minutes and we're out of here.
I have a short attention span. With little time to spare, I make my initial judgment of a movie based on the first 3 minutes of the film. And the first 3 minutes of Jeepers Creepers are nothing extraordinary. We see our two protagonists driving down the highway, bantering back between each other, and we're just kind of establishing their personalities. That's about it that happens in that first 3 minutes, but if we extend it a little bit further, we do see our titular monster, the Jeeper Creeper. He's throwing a body into a hole by a church. So, okay, cool, we get to see him kind of early in the movie. I kind of want to know why he's there and what he's doing, but I don't want to know too much. So let's go into a little bit further. Dusty booking. Jeepers Creepers is an overbooked mess with a hint of some cool things happening in between, similar to the way that Dusty Rhodes used to book the territory. So I'll start off with some of the cool stuff. The monster design is really cool. It's a humanoid scarecrow vulture bat thing that can't die, and he likes to eat, so I think that's kind of terrifying. Also, they really did try to avoid some of the horror cliches, which I did appreciate. One scene in particular that I was worried about going in was when we see our two protagonists go into a diner, and then everyone in that diner looks at them like they're outsiders, which of course they are because they are traveling home and they're just stopping on the road, and they just stick out a little bit. But then it just felt like this was going to be another one of those situations where everybody in the town is in on it, and they're just waiting for those people to get eaten by this creeper. It doesn't go that way, which I really liked because now that made it feel like this whole community is under attack. Now this whole situation does turn into the cops getting involved. They didn't believe the story either because they were talking about 600 dead bodies sewn together underground church, so I kind of understand why they would think that's a little weird. But it all comes together when we find out that the creeper was right outside the diner sniffing Justin Long's laundry. That's kind of interesting that they were able to just kind of take that whole cliche out and say, hey, let's do something where this creeper does exist in this world and nobody knows about it. So that I thought was cool. The ending was also a bit unexpected for me as well, and I won't spoil it here just in case you're just like me and you put this movie off 22 years. But the rest of the movie was a mess. One thing I can't stand is when they over-explain things in movies and then they went really, really hard in this one. We get some lore about the Jeeper Creeper monster, and it comes from some soothsayer woman who has dreams about it. Turns out that the song from the 1930s was about this thing. We also find out that the monster feeds every 23 days on the 23rd spring. Whatever, man, that's just too much. Take all that stuff out, you have something significantly scarier. Just let this humanoid scarecrow bat vulture thing feast without explanation, take the music out, and you have something far more terrifying because it will live in people's minds and they can fantasy book about it all they want. The Big Leg. Jeepers Creepers was a big box office success, and it spawned 2 sequels to make it a trilogy, and it's been remade very recently, and they're looking to set that up into a modern trilogy. The thought of expanding this beyond the first movie does make sense because they were planting the seeds for a Creepers universe. Honestly though, if I had the pencil for this one, what I would do is I would make a 23 episode TV series where every episode is this thing hunting and killing one thing, and then we get to watch them eat in the end. going home. I mentioned earlier I watched this on Amazon Prime Video, and Jeepers Creepers is also available on YouTube, Pluto TV, and Tubi for free. Let's see what you get if you were to buy this on Blu-ray today. What the hell? The only way I can get this on Blu-ray is if I buy Jeepers Creepers 2 with it? I have no idea what the features are for this movie beyond just having a second movie there. And that's it. I have no idea. All things considered, I kind of want to see how they take this story further and what kind of mess the Creeper gets into in the sequel. But having these 2 discs sitting on my shelf, that's an easy decision for me. Jeepers Creepers was not hard to find on streaming, and if you're really interested in this movie or you have a nostalgia around it, go ahead, stream it. But this was not an enjoyable watch for me at all, and not something I would revisit again. Honestly, I wouldn't even recommend streaming it, but I guess there's something to it. Check it out if you really want to, but absolutely do not buy this movie. Let's call for the bell because now we have our decision. This movie did not take a spot on the official Masters of Nonsense movie shelf. Are you thinking about getting this movie? Do you think the decision should be overturned? Let us know by joining the discussion on our Threads page and all of our other social media available on this screen. Like, subscribe, repeat. Always repeat.